Okay, well, we haven't done a Volkswagen video for quite some time. I'm sure you've appreciated that. But I'm going to throw one on there today. So, got everything off the front end covered up because it's been raining here as it tends to do. It's still windy as hell. The weather will just wear your ass out. So I've got the filter and the water strainer and the filter hooked up, fed into here, where you will see two hoses. Get this here door. Two hoses. One going outside to a compressor. And a wire right there that feeds fresh air into a mask so that I can just stay in here as long as I want. Which isn't really too critical now. But when it gets to later stages, when I get the actual paint booth in here, that will become something of a concern. But so I got in here yesterday and I hit you have to mix the primer a certain way at 4:1 to hit the metal bare spots. I went ahead and just threw some on the hood to see what it was going to be because I'm getting ready to hit the rest of these bare spots, and then I'll mix it up at 4:1, which is basically like motor oil. I'll come out here and lay some filler primer on these guys, and then they're ready to bolt back onto the car and get block sanded. And I mean, that's good. This is almost for sure good. I don't know how well I'm gonna like where I filled the Volkswagen sign, but it's looking pretty good considering no more primer than I have on it. When I put filler primer on there, that should block out real nice. The middle area is fixed. Those are done. They'll just be block sanded. This fender is virtually perfect. This is the only one that has some question to it because it was one that was really trashed. But to reiterate, all I'm going to do today is lay some of the 4:1 on this bare metal, let it dry, and then come back and go at 4:1 and just lay some filler primer on there. It's kind of, you can put too much on there, but I mean, even if you put it on till it's running off there, it sands off pretty easy, and it's hard enough that you can block and take out any imperfections. So you really don't know, like this area here, it might not look so good now, but when it gets 1/16 of an inch of filler primer on there, and then you block it all, I mean, it's easy to sand, but it's hard, like a shell. So when you're sanding it, it's easy to control how much you're removing. So I may not have to do anything else to that at all. There's a low spot right here that I'll probably just really load up with filler primer because it's just almost not deep enough to mess with body filler. It's one of those in-betweeners. But this little thing, if you do, after this, I'll be priming a few more parts, and then I'll actually blow up the paint booth, and I'll be painting in a clean environment. But for primer, it just does not matter. It stays like nothing. It poured rain in here the last few days. Did nothing to anything in here. Doesn't even get dusty. It's kind of amazing considering it's sand, but didn't live in Israel forever. I've done this in sand a few times before, so you'll be amazed when you see them all covered in filler primer. You'll think they're perfect. It won't be. They'll be real close. And when they're sanded, they'll be even closer, and maybe in a couple spots. But there's that other thing. If you're going to paint cars, you need one of these. I adapted it to it came with a full face mask, but I adapted it to a just over my mouth and nose mask because it's hard to see out of that thing. But where you really gain an advantage with that is when you go to do the base coat and clear coat, you got to wait between stages. You can just sit in the paint booth instead of open and close the door and do all that clowning around. So you just put all your mixing materials inside with you, all your cups and strainers and all that stuff, and you just lay base coat on there and wait and put another coat of base coat on there. Usually two's enough, and then you're going to need to change out some components to a different air nozzle and some different materials for your clear coat. Well, you can stay in there and do all that. You can put that coat of first coat of clear coat on, wait, put a second one, and even a third one on there if you want to. But the key to putting base coat and clear coat on is to put nice, even coats. And that way, because if you don't, especially with red or silver, this being red, you'll end up with splotchiness. The coloring will be different from panel to panel and area to area. So you don't need 3-4 coats of clear coat. If you're going to put that much clear coat on there, you're really wet sanding in between it, and now you're just trying to make a reflective glass surface on the body of the car, and we ain't going that far with this one. We're going to shoot it with clear coat, and it's going to dry, and then we're going to bolt it together. So the idea is being as good or better than a factory paint job is more than good enough. So that's where I am shortly. I'll have this stuff primered. I'm just about ready to connect everything up and make that happen. Okay, so here we are back out here after priming over the bare steel parts. Particularly, you got to get around the edges. I mean, these are going to be your least number of molecules. So anything on an edge, like an engine block, will crack at a corner. So, I mean, anywhere you're going to have the least amount of molecules, you want to build that up pretty good, and then avoid it during the sanding process as much as possible. And you can always hit it. You're going to hit it again with the primer sealer before you're done. Now, this is my worst fender, the one that really should have never been fixed. It was crashed. So here you can see a lot of little areas that I'm going to have to work on. But you'll be amazed, once it gets filler primer laid on there, most of this will disappear. Even that, like you can see it obviously now, but it'll be gone when it gets filler primed and blocked. I don't think that one's going anywhere, or that one. But that's cool. I mean, that's clearly going to need some more work. And there's a low spot in here, right around in there. So that's why we block things. But this one just didn't get the amount of details all the other parts did, because it was just annihilated. I mean, smashed, crushed in. It didn't look nothing like it does now. Nothing. So what I start worrying about was when I have to rebuild this whole line here. And you can see it's a little bit off there. And I got to put this whole line back. Since none of that's original anymore, not a lot of point into sanding that or into filling every little divot and fixing every little thing until I start blocking it and I see where I can where I can establish that line, because I'm going to need to take a little probably polyester glazing and make that line where it's supposed to be, so this doesn't have like that area there, so it all blends. Blocking will get some of that back, but all of these little divots and places like that just get that polyester filler. It's pretty wicked stuff. Again, and it won't absorb moisture, and it'll never fall out. And this car does not have one speck of Bondo in it anywhere. And Bondo is a wonderful product, it really is. If you use it as intended, as a plastic body filler, and then you just realize that it has no structural that thing, that is off right there. Not only that is there, but that whole thing is low. So, but it's all fiberglass, and that's why you that little divot. This whole thing is fiberglass. That's why all these little holes are here. All this line was just obliterated. This was just completely smashed here, just flat. The whole thing was just smashed in flat to the ground. Had to pound all that back out. So at the point I got to where I was realizing that I'm going to have to mess with that line. I mean, this is by far, far, far the worst part of the car. So once I got close to knowing I'm going to have to be very concerned about where that line ends up, then it didn't make any sense to keep fixing every little thing until, being as I'm just going to have to go over it all anyway. But when it gets filled up with filler primer and it gets blocked, everything, it's amazing, because the filler primer will be gray, and when you sand it, it'll be a different color gray of that which doesn't get sanded, which just makes everything, it's a contrast. It makes everything just jump out at you. You can just instantly see where anything's not perfect. And I don't think I'm going to run into that. I'm a little concerned about where this Volkswagen sign is, but that's actually turning out very nice. I'll be able to block that out. That's done. That was the other great big dent. I didn't have too much wrong with it. So, I have to wipe this off because there's some dust on them. Oh, since it's primer dust, you can just leave it on there. If you're going to put a wet coat on it, it's just going to turn it back into primer. But I'll wipe it all off and then load it up with some filler primer. You'll see an amazing difference. Okay, so we're it's still drying, but you can see how much that filler primer will fill in those little areas before. And when I go to sand that off, I'll have something to work with. That primer, man, it's a 4-to-1 high build primer, and it comes out of there. I didn't even wear a mask in here. It comes out of there wet, like almost like a solid. And in a few places, like here, you could see where the there was some of it actually dry on the nozzle as it was coming out. And that's all okay. Gonna need some work along there. But this is good. This is what you want to do, is get it buried in filler primer so that you can block it all down and correct it. I mean, if you stand back here and look at this fender, it looks great. If you painted it red and clear coated from 10 feet away, it looks wonderful. You get a little closer inspection, you'll see that stuff. But that's why we do this, is to correct that now. You can see that line starts coming, is softer. And the reason it's softer is because there's 16th to an 1/8 inch filler primer. I might have laid it on there hot and heavy on that. And then the hood, it's all good to go. It just needs blocked, and it's going to need another coat of primer before I paint it. But that's all good. We did the same thing here. Stuff's dry already. I mean, I just put the gun down. It's as dry as it was. It get caught on the nozzle coming out of the gun and dry up. I mean, I've seen it do that plenty of times before. It's nothing to worry about. I'm going to sand it anyway. The whole idea of putting this coat of filler primer on there is that most of it's not going to survive the process. And then the next one, I'm not mixing it at 4-to-1 anymore. It's just too heavy. I mean, it barely spray out of the gun. So probably, and it doesn't need to be on these parts for sure. I might do it later on the other parts I'm doing got body work done on. But I'm ditching that gun for using with this filler primer. It's just not good. It's so you see a little dent right there pop out. And I knew those were in there, but they're hard to find when it's all in the body work stage. But it'll show up real fast. Now this here fender will be perfect, and those two will be perfect, and this will come out much better than it looked like it was gonna. So where that line, I can block that line the rest of the way in, and then fill these little, first I'll block it down and see what's left of them, but then I'll fill them. Then I'll come back at it, primer, but it's gonna I'm not gonna filler prime it that heavy again. So once I block it all down, the majority of this will not be there. It'll be on the ground. So, and that's how you do this stuff. I'm pretty happy with it. So, I'm really happy with it, actually. I kid you not, I stood in here without a mask painting all this. Didn't need one. It didn't put anything in the air. They're pretty much liquid. So I'll be ditching that gun for the filler primer stages, and I have a couple of the good old-fashioned suction guns that will pull that kind of heavy paint out there and distribute it much faster. So But it's very, very, very good for what I wanted to accomplish on this set of body panels. This is exactly what I had to get accomplished. So I'm very happy with that. And then I'll block it all down. Some of them, I mean, I don't even know that I want to touch these panels. I just block them smooth, and because they were perfect, there wasn't nothing wrong with it. So I'll just block them smooth and probably paint straight. You know, go put the sealer primer on it, and then go straight to paint. So this hood, see right there where that Volkswagen sign was, that'll all block out very, very easily. So I was worried about that. You can see the outline of it, but there's a block off there like nothing. Now this one will definitely have to get another coat of filler primer. That come out, that big ass mess dent was, that come out really, really good. So I'm really happy with that fender considering what I started with. So it's been a very successful first priming. I got to make some adjustments. The compressor keeps blowing the circuit breaker, and the gun, that gun just isn't adequate to flow the amount of material that I want to go on there. But it looks good. So, I mean, it's going to look really good. Like this, you see this thing, this one here never had anything wrong with it. So once it's blocked, it's done. This will get blocked and they're done. That one's going to get blocked. It's going to definitely need some more work. This one's going to get blocked, and then it's definitely going to need another coat of filler primer. Almost for sure, because there's a couple things I want to do. Where the compressor caused me some issues earlier that I want to tune up. But it's actually time now just to get these out of here, bolt them on the car, and they'll be at that point ready to block. But I might as well just keep coming in here with the pieces, with the bigger pieces, and getting them all, get all the body work done on them, and get them in here and get this, you know, all the bare spots hit with the with a 4 to 1 to 1 ratio, and that way I don't have to worry about that rusting or letting go. And then go ahead and filler prime those two, and then for the next stage of filler primer, once all the parts are done, then the next stage of filler primer, I'll go ahead and put the booth in here. So tomorrow I need to get the hatch and the rear fenders busted out. And the doors if possible, because, well, the doors are going to be some work, but the hatch doesn't really need any work. I got to do a hole for a spoiler with this. So I'll definitely get the hatch and the rear fenders in here tomorrow and get them to this stage. And this is, if you ever done this work, this process, this is the stage where you really want to be at, where things start coming together. You know, and in the end, what you're going to have is a perfect piece of metal to paint on, and then you do all the hard work before you get here, then you do less work here, and then when you go to paint it, you've got no work. You don't do anything. You just spray paint. That's all. Everything's done. You don't have to worry about anything. Not trying to hit any certain areas, not trying to cover bare steel. You're just going to put color on it, and then the clear coat. I'm assuming you've done this half as well as I have. You're going to come out with a very, very nice paint job. And that is for sure. You can see it now, but you can't feel it. You can barely feel it. That is definitely going to block out. And then I can just go ahead and zap this whole front part that I'm not real happy with and block out, and I can put plastic up underneath it and around the car and just put more filler primer on it outside. It dries so fast. Like, it's drying almost coming out of the gun. You can't really out of that gun you can't get a full wet coat on it, which really doesn't matter, because it's all going on wet. But you can't do a large area and have it all be wet at the same time. It's just too damn thick. I mean, it's ridiculous how thick this stuff is. But when you go to block, you'll appreciate that, because it's going to take up a lot. Like especially here, where these look really, really bad before. They don't look like much now, and they're probably these will disappear when I block it. One here, that one will need some work, and that line's going to come back. Even if I have to block this and then hit it with another layer of filler primer in that area, I'll get that line back without having to do body work on it. Ew, it's a big, big win. It's a good stage to be at. It's like the fiberglassing and sanding, and that kind of sucks. So this is definitely preferable to that.